One of the biggest things that I took away from it was step number 5, the underspending aspect. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad fairly recently, and one of the big things he talked about was the aspect of getting in the rat race. And a word, I can't remember specifically how Matt described it, but he essentially said that there's different levels of people. You can be broke while still having money just because of the fact that, I made $100,000 this year, I might as well go buy a new car. I think that being a little more reserved and being willing to hold off for that delayed gratification is really essential. So it was really refreshing to hear Matt sort of touch upon something that I just recently read, and I agree completely. So I'm happy Matt got to come out, and I'm looking forward to speaking with him again in the future.
Now this will hurt a little bit, but just underspend. So, and this is like, just be conservative with your money, okay? In all fashions. When my wife and when I quit my job at Ingersoll Rand, I was a salesman for them. I sold a job that Minute Maid orange juice. I sold a big air compressor system up in Heightstown, okay? And it was like an enormous air compressor system. I made $10,000 as my commission, okay? I could have done all kinds of wacky stuff with that money, but I took it and put it in my pocket, okay? And I'm surprised at myself still that I did that, but I did. I took it and put it in savings. And then soon after that, my girlfriend convinced me that I should read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that I should play the board game Cash Flow, and I should check out real estate. And so I bought a rental property with that $10,000. It was enough for me to afford the rental property. And so I bought a property that I lived in it. I lived in one bedroom, and I rented out the other 2 rooms to 2 buddies of mine, okay? Each of those guys paid me $500 a month. $500. My mortgage was $960. So I was making $40 a month, and I was living there for free, okay? So because I was willing to underspend, save a little bit where I could, and not spend the absolute most money on anything possible, I was able to create my first rental property. Fast forward to my wife and I got married, right? We didn't buy the absolute gargantuan house that we could afford, and both like, hey, let's go get, Lexuses with, $600 a month payments and everything, car payments and stuff like that. We were sensible with our decisions. And entrepreneurs, I submit, high-paid employees can sling money around, okay? Entrepreneurs are the ones that need to be smart with their money, and those are the ones that can own a Tesla free and clear, okay? Because a high-paid employee probably won't, okay? But they'll have lots of car payments and lots of home payments, and they'll be just what they call broke at another level, okay? But an entrepreneur, if you live lean and figure out how to live lean and practice by the law of delayed gratification, meaning let me wait a little bit, wait a year or two before I go buy the Tesla, before I go and buy the bachelor pad penthouse up in New York. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you should. Because keeping your expenses down in your business, and this doesn't apply just to new cars and new houses and stuff like that. This also applies if you guys start a company, maybe don't buy all brand new computers and all new cell phones and all new brand new vehicles with the company logo on them for all your employees and everything like that, right? It means just underspend the budget of the company, because if the market shifts or if things change or whatever you need to do, you can quickly shift on the dime and not have this enormous overhead that you have to be cognizant of. I know so many people that are trying to get into real estate but have $20,000, $30,000 a month monthly expenses, right? And they can't like quit their job to get into real estate. But if they had $3,000 a month monthly expenses or $5,000 a month monthly expenses, they could start a business and very quickly overcome their expenses where they could live off the business, right? But if you overspend, you're creating a gargantuan mountain for yourself to overcome one day. So it feels good to have the big house and to have the car and to have everything like that. But I promise you, it'll feel better to build a business and then own that stuff free and clear. Just a year or two later, just wait a little bit. You'll still get there, okay? All right, that's what I got, and it's exactly 9:30. So Q&A, I can hang out for a little bit longer.
I make sense. I like number 5. I'm a bit what Dig would call frugal.
Let that be your skill, and let your analyst and your frugality be something that you don't run away from. You go ahead into. Next question. What's up?
Why didn't you, when you had the $10,000, like you said, was it earlier in your career?
Yes, before I knew about real estate.
Why didn't you put that money into like a emergency fund if you were to like you said you didn't?
I did. I put it in a savings account.
Okay. I was like, curious, because you said you used it to buy, well, obviously you didn't use all of it to buy the thing, but would you suggest, like, if we run into money, like when we first get our jobs, like
Do not blow it. Yes. Don't be stupid with it. If you get a signing bonus, if you get like a nice big paycheck your first day, don't go and like, let me rent out the apartment, the biggest apartment I can afford, and the nicest car I can afford, and everything like that. Because all you're doing is creating a trap for yourself. It's a trap. That like, okay, now I have to work to maintain all that debt, to maintain the rent and the car payment and everything like that. So, next. Cool. That's it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Did you reap any additional benefits from renting out while you were living there and renting out to the two friends of yours? Like, was there anything beyond, like, you were able to pay off the mortgage with the money that you were taking in from that?
I paid off 30 grand worth of student loans and credit card debt in 2 years. Yeah, because I also had a job, right? I was making what I made in my job, but I didn't have any living. I had no overhead. I was living there for free. So most people, like at least 35% of what they earn goes towards housing. Remember that, by the way. That when you guys get out, do not max it. Don't push it all the way to max, and live at 35% of your income for your housing expense if you can. But most people live that. So I didn't have 35% of the money I earned didn't need to go to where it normally would go. And so I was able to pay down a bunch of debt. It created the snowball. I had enough money so I could go buy my next rental property. It got me going and got like a little bit of a snowball of money going. I was able to help my credit and everything like that too. So, what's up?
So when you're, I guess, younger, you definitely have a lot more things I feel like that you're interested in, you don't necessarily know a lot about because you're still exploring them, or maybe haven't even had the opportunity to explore all of them. So how do you sort of choose your goals, like one path versus another? I mean, even in entrepreneurship, let's say you're good at 2 or 3 different things, right? Let's say I used to play tennis, starting my own practice with tennis versus going into I'm also a comp sci major, going into cybersecurity. How do you sort of pivot and decide and say, okay, this is what I want to do? Because you got to at some point ground yourself and say, okay, I'm going down this path instead of always exploring and switching around all the time.
Okay, I think that don't do what I did. I spent 7 years in one company to figure out that I didn't want to do it, but I knew in the first 6 months that I was going to do it, and I did it for 7 years. Okay, so I would say that it's okay to try something out for 6 months. You're young enough that if cybersecurity is what you want to try out, then find the best company that's on the cutting edge of it, that is working on now what the thing 5 years from now. I only worked in this company for 6 months, so I was exploring that industry, But just decide if that industry, if that path speaks to you, for a little bit. You might have to dip your toe a few times, right, before you find your passion, if you don't have your passion yet, okay? But don't get sucked into the trap of doing it forever. The way you get sucked into that is by digging yourself into a bunch of expenses when you first get out of school. So if you're able to live lean and get a good job in cybersecurity, it's like, 6 months, that's it. I'm going to try, what's another thing?
I guess blockchain.
Got it.
Basically, technology.
Yeah, it's not Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's blockchain. It's different. Yeah, I know. Yeah, blockchain's everything. I mean, that's the new thing. And so I'm not saying you should do that, but that's a big cutting edge thing that's going to come down. It's going to change the way we do so many different things in our country, in our world. So that's another thing that you could try out. If there's a way to do both, I don't know how companies are hiring these days. If you can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or if you can just research it and play with it offline or something like that, or make one of them a hobby for a little bit or a side business. Maybe you could side hustle one. You probably could side hustle blockchain. You probably could. There's not companies that are just that's all they do. There's a lot of companies exploring and playing with it and everything like that, but nobody's launched it and become the premier of it yet. Nobody's the Google of blockchain yet. Okay? There's a lot of people playing with it offline, so that's probably something you can play with on the side. And this is coming from a guy who knows very little about it, so I could be completely wrong. That's what I think. What do you got?
So in your personal experience, what was your biggest obstacle that you faced in entrepreneurship, or that entrepreneurship brought you? Because I know going out on your own, you can have your own set of unique problems that you probably wouldn't face in a job environment.
Yeah.
Complete.
In my world in real estate, in the real estate world, there's just so many shysters. There's so many people that are there to rob you. That it's the wild, wild west in a lot of ways in real estate. And so the biggest struggle that I had is deciding who to trust. Because contractors are somewhat sketchy, other business partners are somewhat sketchy. There's people that are trying to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge all the time and stuff like that in really the real estate business. And so I think that figuring out who to trust in real estate was one of my biggest struggles. That and real estate is a big dollar commodity item, and so dealing with large amounts of money and raising money, borrowing money, whatever it is, finding the money for bigger deals. Now, once I figured out how to do it, it's not that hard at all. But getting myself to that point was a challenge too. Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool. We got
What books you said that I should read?
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Okay, the 7 Habits.
Of highly effective people. True question.
Is there any other books?
Cool.
Is there any other books that you mentioned today?
Jeez. Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Those are 2. Just start with those. What?
Your book.
And I have a book coming out in July for BiggerPockets called Raising Private Capital. BiggerPockets likes to keep their book titles pretty not creative. Like Raising Private Capital. What's it about? Raising private capital, man. That's what it's about, right? What's up?
Personally, I have the feeling constantly that I'm running out of time, that I'm against the clock, that I'm not doing things quick enough.
Yeah.
But, with number 1, you say play the long game.
Yeah.
Is there any way to really, get rid of that feeling of constantly, I'm not doing things quick enough?
Okay.
I'm not, as ahead as I should be.
Who's telling you that you're not doing things quick enough?
Me.
Okay. Is anybody else telling you that?
No.
Okay. So, who's right? You can change your mind about it, okay? You need to give yourself a break. You're too hard on yourself, right? Quit beating yourself up about timelines and stuff like that. How old are you?
21.
Okay, 21. And it doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter. But you're 21, dude. You've got plenty of time. And I mean, with the school thing and with everything you've got for schools and goals and everything like that, you've got plenty of time. But don't get lazy thinking you've got plenty of time. Okay? So try meditating. You meditate? You know what meditating is? Are you familiar with the term?
I've been told to meditate a lot. Somebody told me to do something called somatic meditation. I can't even find step 1.
Okay.
It's just I don't even know what type of feeling I'm looking for.
Okay.
Oftentimes I'll just sit there and just all right, what am I doing? Maybe
Okay.
it'll just come to me.
There's an app you can get on your phone. It's free at first. You get paid for it after you pay for it eventually. There's 2. There's one called Headspace. There's one called Calm.
Headspace and calm.
Headspace and Calm. Okay. What meditation has taught me is about living in the moment. It's not work, because what I think is you're trying to fast forward yourself to the next moment. So I'm not doing whatever it is because I need to get to the next thing or whatever it is. But meditation has taught me to just be okay, just like this. In this moment right here. That's it. That's just this moment. To be comfortable in my skin right in the moment. That's what meditation can teach you, and just kind of lower your vibration a little bit to the point where you're able to be in the moment a little more than, hurry up, right? Yes.
And to kind of tie in what you mentioned earlier, I feel like similar to what he's saying, almost once you get control of your schedule and figure out constantly checking your goals and looking down the road, we're all busy, and I agree with what you're feeling with, but what he's saying completely correlates with feeling like you're there for the right reason. We all scheduled this in our schedules, so we're obviously doing something that we want to be doing right now. So just stay in control of your schedule. That's the best advice I can give. I know I'm in the same boat 100%, but it makes you feel a lot less is on your back, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're still accomplishing what you should be.
To more refine what I'm trying to say is even if I am doing everything I set out to do, I still feel like I haven't done enough. I should be getting more ahead. I got to keep going, further. I might have gone a mile today. I'll tell myself I should have gone 2 miles.
Even if you set a goal to go a mile today.
Yeah.
You set a goal, you said, I want to go a mile, I'm going to go 1 mile. And the day is over, and I went a mile, and you look back on the day, and you say, why the hell didn't I go 2 miles?
I could have done 2, yeah.
If you were like me, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
I'm like the same thing too.
You're too freaking hard on yourself.
Yeah, I'm too hard on
You are.
myself.
You are. That's what it is. You quit beating yourself up.